The alarm went off at 5:12 a.m., just like it did every morning for the past month. Not because school started early, Leo was on break, but because today mattered more than any school day ever could. He swung his legs out of bed before the second buzz, already dressed in the faded shorts and oversized hoodie he laid out the night before. His sneakers, worn and a size too big, sat by the door like two tired dogs waiting for a walk. They weren't much to look at. Scuffed sides, loose soles, laces tied in knots. But they carried more than just his feet. They carried his dream. He brushed his teeth in silence. No music, no distractions. He didn't need hype. What he needed was a miracle and discipline. His heart beat steady but fast. There was hope in his chest, the stubborn kind, the one that refused to listen to logic or math or coaches who said, maybe next year. Leo knew what they saw when they looked at him. Short, too skinny, too quiet, invisible. He wasn't oblivious to it, he just decided not to care. Today was the tryout for the city's under-14 travel team. If he made it, he'd be seen. If he was seen, someone might believe. If someone believed, the dream didn't have to die at 13. He grabbed his basketball, the one with the peeling logo and the signature of a player long faded from the leather. He squeezed it like a promise. His mother was already gone to work, a double shift at the hospital. On the kitchen counter, a sticky note waited for him in her handwriting. "Do your best, I'm already proud. My." He smiled, folded the note, and tucked it into his sock. The bus was late. It always was. The city moved slow in the mornings, as if it resented being awake. Other kids climbed aboard with headphones, bags slung carelessly. Leo sat by the window, fingers drumming the ball, eyes scanning the horizon like he was hunting something. He wasn't sure what. Maybe a sign. Maybe courage. Maybe Giannis. That's who started it all, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak. Leo had watched a grainy YouTube video of him dunking over 3 defenders like it was child's play. He didn't understand the NBA at the time. He was only 7, but he understood that energy, that defiance, that joy. Giannis smiled like someone who remembered being hungry, someone who played not to dominate, but to survive. Leo saw himself in that smile. Maybe not in the wingspan or the power, but in the hunger, in the refusal to quit. The gym was a box of echoes and bright lights. When Leo arrived, the tryout was already halfway through warm-ups. At least 20 kids were there, all in proper gear. Compression sleeves, high-end sneakers, jerseys with their names on the back. Leo swallowed his nerves and stepped onto the court like he belonged there. He didn't know anyone. No one knew him. That was a good thing, he thought. Until it wasn't. The coaches barely looked at him during drills. One of them whispered something to the other after Leo's first layup. A chuckle followed. During sprints, he came in 5th. Not bad. Not amazing. He made every free throw, threaded some clever passes, fought hard on defense. He even blocked a taller kid once, catching a surprised damn from the sideline. But when scrimmages began, he got less and less time. When he did play, the ball rarely came his way. He waved his hands, called for it, but the guards looked past him. One even said, "Dude's not even tall enough for JV," loud enough for Leo to hear. He tried not to react. He'd trained himself for this, for invisibility, but his chest burned, not from running, from being erased. After the final whistle, the head coach gathered everyone in a huddle. "Thanks for showing up. You all worked hard today," he said, clipboard in hand. "We've got some tough choices ahead. The full roster will be posted online later, but if I call your name, you've made the shortlist." He started calling names, 8 in total. Leo stood still, trying to anticipate the sound of his own name, bracing for it like a wave, but it never came. After dismissing the group, the coach gave him a glance and beckoned him over. "Hey, Leo, right?" Leo nodded. "You've got a lot of hustle and a good attitude. I like that. But listen." The coach glanced at the taller players gathering their bags. "It's not just about effort at this level. We need size. We need length. You're a little undersized for your position, and look, maybe in a year with a growth spurt you come back and make some noise." Leo swallowed the lump in his throat. He didn't want to cry. Not here. Not in front of this man with the clipboard and the closed eyes. "Okay," he said, voice steady, eyes dry. He shook the coach's hand and walked out before anyone could look too close. The air outside was heavier than when he arrived. Rain clouds stacked like bricks in the sky. Thunder mumbled in the distance. Leo walked with his hoodie up, gripping the ball like it was still part of him. Each step felt hollow. The sidewalks were slick and uneven. His shoelace came loose. He didn't stop to tie it. Back in his neighborhood, he cut through the alley that led to the community court. A cracked slab of concrete fenced in by rust and graffiti. It wasn't pretty, but it was his sanctuary. He'd trained here every night since last summer. Cones, drills, jumpers, shadow defense. Alone. Always alone. And today, he needed it more than ever. He dropped his bag on the bench, pulled off the hoodie, and stood under the rim. He didn't warm up. He didn't stretch. He just started shooting, hard, fast, aggressive. The ball thudded against the backboard, rim, sometimes the pole. He chased rebounds like they owed him something. A dozen shots, 2 made, then 10 more, missed again. He screamed, not a loud scream, not one meant for anyone to hear, just a sound from inside his chest, like something breaking. He kicked the ball across the court. It bounced off the fence and rolled back to him slowly, like a dog returning after a scolding. He picked it up and sat on the ground, legs bent, arms resting on his knees. The rain came slowly at first, misty, cold, then heavier, the kind of rain that turns silence into noise. He let it hit him, didn't flinch, didn't run for cover. He closed his eyes and let the water wash over him like a baptism. If dreams could drown, he thought, maybe this is how it feels. All that effort, all that hope. For what? A pat on the back and a maybe next year? He thought of his mom, probably still on her feet at the hospital, thinking her son might be making his first real step towards something better. He hated the idea of disappointing her, but worse, he hated the idea of believing what the coach said. That size was all that mattered. That talent came with inches. He pressed his palms into the wet court, as if grounding himself in something real, something deeper than rejection. He thought of Giannis again, not the dunks, not the trophies, but the beginning, selling trinkets in the street, sharing sneakers with his brother, being laughed at, being doubted, being invisible. Somewhere between the thunder and the tears, Leo made a choice. Not a loud one, not a heroic one, just a quiet decision whispered to himself, not done. And then behind him, headlights, a car pulling up slowly by the fence, the kind of vehicle that didn't belong in this neighborhood, sleek, dark, expensive. It parked, engine idling. Leo didn't look back, probably someone lost. The engine stopped, the door opened, footsteps. He turned, just enough to see the silhouette of a man stepping through the gate. Tall, wide-shouldered, hood up, moving like he belonged here. Leo narrowed his eyes through the rain. The man stopped, hands in his pockets, staring at the court. And then, with a voice both familiar and unreal, he said, "You were playing hard, even when no one was watching." Leo froze, because he knew that voice, he knew that face. It wasn't a dream. Giannis Antetokounmpo was standing at the edge of the court, and everything was about to change. Leo couldn't speak. His mouth was open, slightly, but the words wouldn't come. His eyes didn't blink. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Giannis, stood under the fence light, his hoodie half shadowing his face, water glinting on his shoulders like silver. He looked like something carved out of the storm itself. Unreal, imposing. But when he stepped closer, it wasn't power that arrived with him. It was warmth. "Mind if I join you?" Giannis asked, as if this were a casual invitation, as if he wasn't a global icon interrupting a kid's private heartbreak. Leo blinked hard, twice. He nodded before he even knew he had nodded. Giannis stepped onto the wet court, letting the rain soak through his shoes like it was nothing. He glanced at the battered ball near Leo's feet and raised an eyebrow. "You wear that one out yourself?" he asked, half smiling. Leo found his voice barely above a whisper. "It's the only one I got." Giannis crouched and picked up the ball. He turned it in his massive hands, brushing a thumb over the worn logo. "Looks like it's got a story," Leo shrugged. Not a good one. Giannis stood, spinning the ball with his fingers. Every story that ends good starts out hard, he said. Mine did. He tossed the ball gently to Leo, who caught it with both hands like it might break if dropped. You want to tell me what happened? Giannis asked, motioning toward the nearby bench. Leo sat. He didn't mean to tell the whole thing, but somehow it came out. Not in a rush, not in a plea. Just truth, steady and soaked in silence between lines. The tryout, the coach, the comment about his height, the list without his name, the way he held it together until no one could see. Giannis didn't interrupt. He just listened, elbows on his knees, his eyes locked on Leo with a focus that made the boy feel taller just being looked at like that. When Leo was done, Giannis leaned back, hands clasped. You know what they told me when I moved to the States? He began. That I was too skinny. That I didn't understand American basketball. That I was a project. You know what a project is? Leo nodded. Someone who's not ready yet. Giannis grinned. Exactly. Not good enough. Not now. Maybe never. That's how they saw me. Like a maybe. You know how that feels, right? Leo didn't answer. He didn't need to. Giannis stood up and walked toward the hoop. It wasn't regulation height, and the rim was bent slightly forward. But he didn't care. He dribbled once, twice, then took a shot. Soft, fluid. The ball fell through the net with a whisper. You know what I did with that? He asked, catching the rebound. I made sure every day I got better. Every day. 1 inch stronger, 1 inch smarter, 1 inch tougher. People told me I'd never be a star. I said, okay, then I worked like someone was chasing me. And you know what? They were. Life was chasing me. Hunger was chasing me. And I didn't stop running. He tossed the ball back to Leo. I saw you playing just now, he said. You didn't know I was watching, but I was. You played like it mattered, like it was personal. That's hard, that's rare. Leo looked down at the ball. The rain had softened, now more a mist than a storm. The court was glistening. But I'm small, he said quietly. They're not wrong. Giannis crouched beside him, eyes sharp. You're not small. You're early. The words landed like thunder, simple, certain. Height is one part of the game, Giannis continued, but height doesn't teach you hustle, doesn't teach you court vision, doesn't make you care. You've got things those tall boys don't. You've got grit. I saw it. Leo stared at him, trying to believe it. Giannis stood again, paced the court. Let's do something, he said. Let's train, right now. Just a few things. Leo blinked. Right now? Giannis grinned. Why not? It's just rain. And so they trained. No cameras, no fanfare, just the two of them, under the broken lights and soft mist. Giannis showed him footwork drills, angles of attack, how to protect the ball with his body. He made Leo run lines, not for speed, but for control. He broke down how to read a defender's hips, how to bait a trap and spin out. Leo absorbed it all like a sponge dropped in water. He stumbled, slipped, gasped for breath, but he didn't quit, not once. After 40 minutes, Giannis called it. You hungry? He asked. Leo hesitated. His stomach answered for him. Giannis reached into the car, pulled out 2 protein bars and tossed one to him. They sat again, this time laughing, talking. Not idol and fan, just 2 players from different worlds, sharing the same language. When they finished, Giannis pulled a small black gym bag from the back seat. Got something for you, he said. Inside was a brand new pair of sneakers, still unlaced. Leo stared at them like they were gold. These are your size, Giannis said. I figured the ones you're wearing have seen enough battles. Leo didn't know what to say. He turned the shoes over in his hands, overwhelmed. I can't pay for these. Giannis raised a brow. You already did, with your effort, with your heart. The rain had stopped completely now. The moon peeked out, dim but present. Giannis leaned in slightly, his voice lower. I'm in town for one more day. Got a youth clinic tomorrow, invitation only. But you're invited. Leo's eyes widened. It's early, Giannis said. 7 sharp, same court, be ready to work. He stood, started walking to his car. Wait, Leo called out. Why me? Giannis paused, turned slightly, his smile soft and sure. Because someone believed in me when no one else did. I'm just returning the favor. He got in the car and drove off slowly, his taillights fading into the quiet street. Leo sat on the bench for a long time after, shoes in hand, rain drying on his skin, chest full of something too big for words. It wasn't just hope, it was ignition. He didn't sleep much that night, not from nerves, from energy, from the sudden rush of purpose that made his limbs twitch with anticipation. He tied the new shoes beside his bed like they were a trophy. Not for what he'd done, but for what he could become. Before dawn, he was up again, stretching, drinking water, dribbling in the alley, practicing balance, breathing, visualization. Every tip Giannis gave him, he rehearsed like a sacred text. His body ached, but the pain felt good, like progress. At 6:30, he was at the court. At 6:45, so was Giannis, but this time he didn't come alone. Two other men exited the vehicle, one with a clipboard, the other with a whistle. Both coaches, both professionals, both watching Leo with the neutral, unreadable gaze of evaluators. Leo swallowed, pulled his hoodie tight, and took a deep breath. Giannis clapped his hands. "Let's go. Time to work." And work they did. It wasn't a clinic, it was a test. Drills that challenged his balance, foot speed, lateral quickness, defensive rotations, closeouts, ball control under pressure. Every mistake was met with correction. Every good move earned a nod. Giannis didn't treat him like a kid. He treated him like a player, and Leo responded like one. He slipped, yes, he gasped for air, yes, but he never asked to stop, never once backed down. 2 hours passed. The sun broke through the clouds. The coaches approached Giannis, whispered something, nodded, shook hands, then left. Leo stood alone at half court, shirt clinging to his back, legs trembling. Giannis walked over, smiling like he had a secret. "How'd that feel?" he asked. "Like drowning," Leo panted, laughing. "Good. That's how you know it matters." Giannis pulled out a folded envelope from his bag. "Inside this," he said, "is a full scholarship to a youth basketball academy I help sponsor in Milwaukee. Room, board, travel, all of it." Leo blinked. "Wait, what?" Giannis held out the envelope. "You've got what it takes, but you need the right place to grow. This is that place." Leo didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at the envelope, hands shaking. Giannis lowered it gently into his palm. "This is real," he said, "because you're real, I saw it." And with that, Block 2 ends, with a kid whose world just opened wide, a moment that changed everything, forever. 3 years is a long time when you're young. It's long enough to grow, to break, to rebuild. Long enough to unlearn doubt and relearn belief. Long enough to turn maybe into definitely, and too small into just right. Leo stood at the entrance of a gym in Chicago, clutching a water bottle in one hand and his duffel bag in the other. The smell of waxed wood, of sweat and rubber and tension in the air. It hit him like nostalgia and hunger combined. His heart beat steady now, not like the panicked thuds of his past. It was still fast, sure, but confident, intentional. The kind of heartbeat that knows it belongs. He'd been here before, not this gym specifically, but this moment. Tryout day, a new city, a new team, a fresh list of strangers all fighting for the same dream. But unlike 3 years ago, he didn't flinch at the height chart. He didn't look around the locker room and shrink. His body wasn't huge, 5'8" now, lean and wired, but it moved like it had purpose. Every step, every breath. He had earned it, not through genetics, through grit. The scholarship Giannis gave him hadn't just opened a door, it had built an entirely new house. The Milwaukee Academy was no joke. 6 a.m. lifts, late-night film sessions, travel games across the country, coaches who never sugar-coated anything. His first 6 months there had nearly broken him. The pace, the discipline, the sheer size of the other players. He wasn't the best, not even close. But that had never been the goal. He didn't need to be the best. He needed to be better than yesterday every day. He remembered one night, a cold, bitter night after a loss in Detroit. He'd missed a buzzer beater, badly. The whole bus was silent. When they got back to the dorms, the team went to sleep. But Leo went straight to the gym. He shot that same shot over and over until dawn. His coach found him curled up on the sideline at sunrise. Instead of yelling, the coach just nodded and said, "Okay, now we know what kind of player you are." And the next game, Leo hit that shot. Same spot, same pressure, different result. Now he was 16, smarter, sharper, taller, yes. But that wasn't what changed everything. It was how he saw the game. He didn't just play basketball anymore, he read it, breathed it. He saw passing lanes before they opened. He understood how to manipulate space, how to change tempo. He was still undersized by most standards, but he'd stopped playing their game. He made them play his. This tryout wasn't like the one he'd failed years ago. This was for an elite prep school with a national schedule, a real pipeline to D1 colleges and even pro circuits. The team was already loaded, the roster nearly full. But Leo's name had landed on the shortlist after one of the scouts saw him drop 28 points and 9 assists against a ranked opponent in St. Louis. The email came with 4 words: "You interested? 1 shot." So here he was, tryout time. He stepped onto the court. The sound of bouncing balls echoed around him. Tall kids everywhere, tattoos, muscle, high-top fade haircuts, confidence bordering on cockiness. The kind of swagger that used to intimidate him. But Leo had his own version of swagger now. It was quiet, unapologetic, earned. Drills started. He moved like water, cutting, driving, dishing. The coaches watched closely. He didn't need to be flashy, just surgical. In the first scrimmage, he didn't take a single shot, but ended with 4 assists and 2 steals. In the second, he buried 2 threes, made a no-look bounce pass between defenders, and took a charge against a kid 6 inches taller. No one was laughing now. When the head coach called for a full-court 5-on-5, Leo was the first name on the whiteboard. The game moved fast. Athleticism everywhere, bodies crashing, voices shouting. But Leo didn't get lost. He navigated chaos like it was home. He communicated, rotated. He didn't try to dominate, he organized. And when the game was tied with 14 seconds left on the clock, the ball found his hands at the top of the key. Same feeling, same breath. The defender crouched low, hands out. Leo dribbled once, twice, then crossed over to his left, attacked the lane, drew the help defender, and in one motion jumped, hung mid-air, and kicked the ball out to the corner where the wing was wide open. The kid hit the 3. Game. Leo smiled and jogged back to the bench. No celebration, no chest beating, just another job done. The head coach called a break and huddled with his assistants. Players gathered their bags, chugged water, stared at their phones, but Leo just sat, breathing, watching. He didn't notice the man in the stands right away. Tall, hoodie pulled low, sitting in the farthest row of the gym, arms folded, posture relaxed, but eyes laser-focused. Giannis. Leo saw him and froze, not from nerves. From something deeper. It had been almost 2 years since he'd seen him in person. They exchanged messages sometimes, after games, after milestones. Giannis always responded, even if it was just a thumbs up or one of those rare voice notes filled with wisdom and teasing. But seeing him here now, silently observing from the shadows, it made everything real. After the final whistle, players began trickling out. A coach pulled Leo aside and handed him a sealed envelope. "We'll be in touch," the coach said. "Nice work today." Leo nodded, said thank you, but his eyes were on the bleachers. Giannis was already gone. No goodbye, no dramatic moment. Just like that first night, a quiet exit. Leo stood outside the gym alone, the city air cold against his damp skin. He opened the envelope. Inside, an offer letter. Full ride, starting guard. He laughed, not loud, just enough for his chest to shake. Later that night, in his hotel room, he found a message on his phone. A number with no name, but he knew it. "You passed the test, not the tryout, the one you started 3 years ago. You're ready now. Stay humble, stay hungry. See you soon. G." Leo turned off his phone and looked out the window. The city lights blurred against the dark sky. He thought about his mother, about the court where it all started, about that moment in the rain when a stranger had seen something in him no one else had. He sat down, laced up his sneakers, the same brand Giannis had given him that first night, only now a few sizes bigger, and whispered to himself the same two words he'd said back then, "Not done," because he wasn't.